Hello, this is Ben Moore, Finance Manager for the Office of Community Assistance, and this video will help walk you through budgeting for occupancy, rent utilities, and for the telecom budget line items. The budget line items covered in this video are 109A and B and 111 for the program support category, and 309A and B and 311 for the administration category. The occupancy and telecommunications are grouped together to include both program support and direct admin lines. Pay special attention to what items specifically are required to be charged to admin, or apply those portions of cost that pertain to admin staff to the direct admin lines. The items that must be charged to admin for occupancy rent, which would be line item 309A, are rent or the space costs for administrative staff that might include the executive director, fiscal officer, HR, and payroll. Building depreciation is only allowed if the building is owned by the grantee. The minimum requirements for the cost grid detail for the occupancy rent budget tab are that you need to separate the rent by location, and you need to be sure that the calculation in the cost detail grid matches the calculation in the narrative section. The minimum requirements for the narrative section: for each location rented, you need to include the total monthly or annual rent and the percentage charged to the grant being budgeted. The basis used to determine the percent charged for this grant should be square footage. If any other basis is used, clear explanation and support must be provided. The items generally to include in the occupancy rent line item are space rental for program staff directly related to the operation of the grant program. If a building is owned by the grantee, depreciation may be budgeted to these line items for the proportional space utilized by program staff involved with the operation of the grant program. The items that must be charged to admin for the occupancy utilities budget line item, which would be 309B, are the utilities for space occupied by admin staff, again, executive director, fiscal officer, human resources, payroll, for a few examples. For the weatherization grants only, all utilities other than warehouse operations must be charged to admin, which would be 309B. The minimum requirements for the cost grid detail. You must list the utility cost by location, and please be sure that the calculation in the cost detail grid matches the calculation in the narrative. The minimum requirements for the narrative section of the occupancy utility budget, you must list for each location, include the total monthly or annual cost per utility and the percentage charged to this grant. The basis used to determine the percentage charge for this grant should be square footage. Again, if any other basis is used, you need a clear explanation and you need to support why you're using an alternate basis. The items in general to include in the occupancy utilities budget would be utilities for program operations. Again, for weatherization only, utilities can be charged to program support 109B or warehouse operations only. All other utilities for weatherization grants must be charged to admin, line 309B. For telecom, the items that must be charged to admin: landlines, cell phones, and internet charges for administrative staff, again, such as executive director, fiscal officer, HR, those types of positions. The minimum requirements for the cost grid detail: you must list the cost for landlines, cell phones, and internet separately, especially if billed separately, but if they are combined, you can put them in the cost grid as one cost, but then explain in the narrative what costs are included in that bundled billing amount. The minimum requirements for the narrative section of the telecom budget: you must include the total agency monthly or annual cost for each service and the percentage charged to that grant. The basis used to determine the percentage charge for this grant should be number of phones or computers. If any other basis is used, again, a clear explanation and support must be provided. Items in general to include in the telecom budget would be landlines, cell phones, and internet charges for staff directly involved with operation of the program. Please remember that there are separate videos available as guides to completing the individual cost tabs in the budget spreadsheet. Thanks for watching.